The Newfoundland sat between the toddler and the hallway and would not let her walk past. The mother tried to move him 3 times. The fourth time, she followed his eyes. The mother thought the huge dog had become dominant with her daughter. She had it exactly backwards. Rosalind Fairbanks had been a labor and delivery nurse for 13 years. She had seen more than most parents ever would, and she trusted what she had seen. That was the trap. 20-month-old Marigold had woken that morning ordinary. Not fussy, not warm, not different in any way Rosalind Fairbanks could point to. Thistle, the family's Newfoundland, had been part of the household since before Marigold was born. Gentle to the point of being predictable, the kind of animal that people described as sweet, and left it at that. Which is why what happened next made no sense at the time. Thistle crossed the room slower than usual. He came to where Marigold was sitting and lowered his face until it was closer than Rosalind Fairbanks had ever seen him get, and would not back away. Marigold began to cry. Thistle did not move. Rosalind Fairbanks watched from the doorway with a coffee cup in her hand and felt the first thread of unease she recognized as professional. Thistle, back up. He lifted his eyes to her and stayed exactly where he was. Marigold cried harder. Thistle pressed his nose closer, slow and deliberate, and held it there. Rosalind Fairbanks set down her coffee. In 13 years of labor work, she had seen dogs upset children before. She had seen the pattern: stress behavior, resource guarding, overstimulation around a distressed child. She had seen families dismiss warning signs until it was too late. She knew what this looked like. She crossed the room and put herself between them. Thistle moved around her. He wasn't growling, he wasn't stiff. But he would not leave Marigold alone. Her husband Quentin came in from the hallway and watched for 30 seconds. Should we put him in the yard for a while? Rosalind Fairbanks was already nodding. Her mother-in-law, who had come to help that week, said it from the doorway without being asked. You're right. You can't take that kind of risk with the baby. They had all reached the same conclusion. That felt, at the time, like confirmation. The door clicked shut behind Thistle. Marigold stopped crying almost immediately, which felt like proof. Rosalind Fairbanks picked her child up and held her, and felt the quiet of a problem solved. She went to fold laundry in the next room, the monitor on the counter beside her. Thistle was scratching at the back door within 10 minutes. Not barking, scratching. A continuous, focused, rhythmic scraping that did not stop. Quentin let him in. Thistle went directly to the doorway where Marigold was, positioned himself at the threshold, and would not move. Rosalind Fairbanks came to stand beside Quentin. She looked at Thistle standing at the edge of the room. She looked at how still he was, how focused. In 13 years, she had learned one thing above all else about children in trouble. The silence that follows distress is not always peace. She went to Marigold. The color was wrong, not dramatically, not the gray she knew to fear, but off. She touched the small hand. She touched the small forehead. She was already reaching for her phone before she finished forming the thought. The number she got back was not what she had prepared herself for. Co-concentration 340 ppm. Hemoglobin saturation compromised. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Battalion Chief Iker Ostrowski from County Fire Services was the one who explained it. Another 40 minutes in that house and neither of them wakes up, she said. You brought this child in exactly when you did. Whatever made you check. Trust that next time. Rosalind Fairbanks did not answer for a long time. She was looking through the 4 days behind her at every moment that had made no sense. Thistle refusing to move. Thistle pressing his face close. Thistle pushing his body between her and the child. The scratching at the door. Every single behavior she had read as a threat had been a report she couldn't hear. The face pressed close. Not aggression, chemical detection. The refusal to leave after every correction. Not defiance, an alarm system that couldn't turn itself off. The scratch at the back door. Not impatience, the sound of him trying to get back to his post. The vigil at the threshold. Perfectly still. Not dominance, medical surveillance. He had been reading what she couldn't see since the moment Marigold woke up. Has your dog ever done something you couldn't explain until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. They drove home in the dark. Marigold was stable, wrapped in a hospital blanket. Quentin carried her inside. Rosalind Fairbanks opened the back door herself. Thistle came in without drama. He walked to where Quentin had set Marigold down and lay close beside her, the full length of his body pressed to her side. He did not look up. He did not perform relief. He put his chin on his paws and exhaled once, long and slow, and stayed exactly where he had been trying to stay for 4 days. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Rosalind Fairbanks sat on the floor across from them. She did not reach for her phone. She did not move to the kitchen. She watched the rise and fall of her child's chest and the Newfoundland's chin resting level on the floorboards, his eyes still open, still watching the way they had been watching all day. The next story involves a family who almost gave the dog back to the shelter 3 weeks before the diagnosis that changed everything.